You know, it kind of reminds me of Little House on the Prairie, just a little bit.
This music?
No, not the music. The second picture in our slides.
It's Mrs. Olson.
And the wannabe Chad Bianco. Hey, how about some scotch tonight?
Let's make it happen. For those of you who've already joined us, be sure to share this live feed to your page or profile. Do it now, don't delay. Don't put it off for another day.
Cheers. Hey, did we spell feud correctly this time? Because on my promo, I missed it.
Yeah, I got to go back to elementary school to learn how to spell feud. I was not homeschooled, but I was the product of a private education.
Hope your dad got his money back.
Scott Schofield wants to know if there's anything new tonight. You ready to chide us already? Scott. You ready to be on camera?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Okay. Wanted to make sure. Welcome to the Liberty Without Compromise live stream broadcast. We are the only live local liberty-minded program right here in Kootenai County. We're here to expose the political power players, politicians, social influencers, power playing pastors. Basically anybody that gets into some kind of power position, and I don't know if they're making money not the right way or pushing people around, abusing people. Seems to go hand in hand with politics for some reason. We're your hosts, Dan and Dawna Wilson. Scott Schofield wanted to know if we had anything new tonight. Of course we have something new tonight. Oh, brother. It's already telling you to smile. I'm here to screen your questions and comments. As you can see, I'm already screening Scott's comments. Dan probably wished I left them out, but they made it through the screening process. Throughout the program, you can do what Scott's doing and submit your questions and comments right there in the comments section, or you can call our number, leave a voicemail, or text 208-366-4671. If you're watching live, another reminder, be sure to click that share button on whichever platform you're joining us tonight. And an important reminder, opinions expressed are ours only, not necessarily that of any of our advertisers, sponsors, affiliates, guests, or in internet clips that we will no doubt be sharing tonight. On the broadcast, we're connecting dots that a lot of people won't take the time to connect. Dan and I talk about that all the time. Some people would rather nobody connect these dots at all, but we're here doing it. We're looking at shifting alliances, public endorsements, and the growing divide inside Kootenai County politics, starting with a relationship that's getting a little more attention than usual. Let's just say Mrs. Olson, Stefanie Fetzer, and Sheriff Bob Norris. What character is he?
Well, I was going to say Nellie.
Oh, Stefanie is Nellie?
Of course.
Well, wasn't Mrs. Olson Nellie's mom? Nellie's mom. And Sheriff Bob Norris. So Stefanie Fetzer and Sheriff Bob Norris are giving us a little bit to talk about. I was going to say plenty to talk about. It's not that much, but, a little bit to talk about. They probably want more attention, but we'll give them a little. We're also going to get into what happens when serious questions go unanswered, whether it's leadership, conduct, or decisions that impact this community. From City Hall to the courthouse, we're seeing the same pattern: pressure, deflection, and a whole lot of silence where there should be clarity. Mayor Dan Dawna is still facing questions following last week's developments, and we'll walk through why that matters and what he hasn't addressed at all as of tonight. We're also revisiting the ongoing issues surrounding John Padula and the recovery program tied to his leadership. where the most serious concerns continue to go unanswered. The serious ones. It's the serious ones he is not answering. Even as the conversation keeps growing, he's not answering them. There's new audio that we've obtained from a call involving local law enforcement and a situation that escalated quickly a few weeks ago. What is said on that call and what may have come from it raises bigger questions about how narratives are created right here in our own county, who's behind those narratives, and how they spread so fast. And we'll have a little bit of everything tonight. Tension between Commissioner Bruce Matari and Sheriff Bob Norris playing out in real time. Voices in the community shaping political outcomes and the continued push to influence what you see, hear, and believe. This is a Liberty Without Compromise, and now here is your host, Dan Wilson.
And that went by very quick. Super quick, your monologue, your intro.
I had to read through that fast.
Episode 71, so glad you're here.
Talk fast.
I know many of you enjoyed last week's broadcast when we took the smackdown to all of the habitual serial liars, those that spread the malicious lies back and forth. And we smacked you extremely hard last week, despite the fact that you came back and you never even addressed in your little chat rooms the fact that you got a smackdown. But everybody in Kootenai County that has been watching this program or any of our Facebook pages knows how bad you all got spanked, including Keith Bowe and a couple others that we'll name throughout the rest of the day. We are Liberty Without Compromise. We do believe that we have, as our Creator intended, the right, as all men, to life, liberty, and property. And oftentimes we focused, not us, but people focus at the national level. What is going on with Trump and MAGA and the Democrats and Israel and Iran? And, well, we have enough people that are talking about those topics. I would always recommend that you pay even closer attention to your backyard, those things that are going right on under your nose, because those things happen to be what restricts your liberty greater than even what the federal government can do, because it is up to the local government to be your last defense against a out of control, unaccountable government, both federal and state. As we are seeing right now, the controversy going on in Utah, where they're going to put in that something like 60 square mile facility and a IT center, a cloud center for AI. Folks, that was decided by 3 county commissioners, despite the outcry of thousands of citizens that said they did not want it. These 3 county commissioners voted it in and approved. And I would argue to you that your very county right here is in every bit as much of jeopardy as we have seen in the past year. Even those that should be conservatives, that should be concerned, have too also been pushing for the surveillance state. You've seen our episodes talking about Palantir and the ALPRs right here in Kootenai County, and why men of liberty never trade their dangerous liberty for its certain security, which includes you call out your local officials that are not adhering to the rule of law, the Constitution, the highest law of the land, that which we all derive how we in our social contracts live. Now, we have lots to talk about tonight regarding all things in Kootenai County. We're going to keep visiting and pounding out things that we've talked about before, because repetition is necessary. You need to be paying attention to who the players are, who is currently running for office, and why you should not just go down and be lazy, be an imbecile by taking this red card that you're going to get in the mail like we did. You've probably already got it by now, that tells you who to vote for, because the Central Committee, who has the dollars and the power, chooses who their candidates are going to be, knowing that the vast majority of Kootenai County citizens are idiots. They don't take the time to research who the candidates are, and they're going to mark off all the names on this card. And our hope is that you will not do that, that you will look for yourself. Not every candidate on this card is a bad person, but not every candidate on that card also should be in office. Now, the Kootenai County Republican Central Committee for many years has had an abysmal track record for recommending all sorts of people that should never be anywhere near office. Drug users, those that steal timber from public lands, those that frequent Asian massage parlors despite the fact that they've had their genitals touched numerous times. The list goes on and on. These people that I'm talking about have wound up on this very card. Our aim with tonight's broadcast is to put special spotlights on people in this county, their alliances, what they're doing, and why you, if you truly love liberty without compromise, you need to be paying attention and you need to be people of action. Last week, let me ask a question. Last week, we provided in the comments 2 email addresses to County Commissioner Mark Eberline and to Commissioner Leslie Duncan. And our request was to contact both Commissioners Duncan and Eberline in support of the Mitchell Event Center. That's that wedding center that Bob Norris, using his official capacity as sheriff to help out his friends like Dave Lou Cummings, the former Homeland Security DHS agent, who also is very close to Paul Van Noy, who was in opposition of this event center for this poor family that has been here for generations. They just don't want it in their own backyard. So we gave you those 2 addresses. The question is, did you go out and send an email in support? And if you haven't, then why not? If you say that you want to get involved, but you can't do a lot of things, and you sit and you watch Donna and I and others in this community week after week after week, putting in the time and the efforts to give you guys suggestions, what are you doing if you're just watching? So that's my rant, my monologue for the intro tonight.
A reminder to share this feed to your page or profile and stay involved there in that comment section. We have a lot of fun reading those comments, going back and forth, even when you guys fight amongst each other. I mean, like, we're doing this and talking and presenting information and entertained even by you all at the same time. You, Dan Wilson, are a kid that at 4 years old, you embraced the spirit of the American cowboy. 4 years old. You had a cowboy hat. You actually come from a long line family of ranchers. You have owned horses. In fact, you lost your, I believe it is a roping saddle to your ex-wife in your divorce to prove you've had
true story.
You've had these things and these experiences despite what you've been made fun of for, which would be Dan Wilson's just dressing up. He's playing a character, but really for just about the entirety of your life, it is the embracing of that cowboy spirit.
It's the Western spirit, which is really what, defines America in so many ways. It was those that pioneered the great frontier and came west. And of course, it has been embodied in the American cowboy. And you can see its effect on culture now, many generations since the inception. And you go back all the way to the old Western novels, even the Doc Holliday, Wyatt Earp novels that they used to sell at the drugstores. In fact, Wyatt Earp even served as a deputy right here in Kootenai County.
That's right.
The cowboy spirit is something that is really our birthright. It's part of our heritage, especially those of us that live out west. And, I think that anybody that embraces the Western spirit is typically somebody that I really like.
Yeah. And you have been a voracious reader your entire life, a lover of the history of this country, the Constitution, the founding fathers, all of those things. And so I sit by and watch you be almost relentlessly, or at least by a certain group of people, mocked relentlessly throughout the campaign for really being the person that you have always been and dressing the way that you dress, no put on. And then a couple of years ago at the Lincoln Day dinner, we have our current sitting sheriff, Sheriff Bob Norris, who comes from LA County, dressing up in something like, if you want to make a sheriff starter pack and something to buy at like the Spirit Halloween costume store, he had his little like red bolo tie,
No,
as you say.
That's a Colonel Sanders string tie.
The Colonel Sanders string tie. Oh yeah, that's not a bolo. The bolo's
we got it. We actually have a picture. This must be where you're going with this.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
So
that was a good intro.
I don't know what. So yeah, watching this take place with you just being who you have authentically always been, and then in contrast with this, because we were talking about this again today, and I'll bring this up here and let you take that from here.
Well, this is actually fascinating, and I'm glad we found this because this sets up for our next story pretty darn well. This was at a Lincoln Day dinner just last year, a year ago, and you have Stefanie Fetzer standing with Sheriff Bob Norris. Now, Bob Norris, I wonder if he's ever actually bucked a real bale of hay or straw in his life, especially the 3-strand basin bales.
Well,
here's what I want to ask some of my tactical buddies real quick. So this is, the sheriff. Get a load of the Derringer shoved into his waistband. That little pearl-handled Derringer on his left side. And then he's got his drop leg holster. Again, I've never known a guy that wasn't on a TAC team actually working with a vest that keeps your belt line somewhat covered, hence needing a drop leg. I've never seen a sheriff wear a drop leg holster with a revolver in it off duty. And then, of course, the squirrel on the shoulder. So, yeah, that's quite a sight. So, yeah, stick it. Anytime somebody wants to call the cosplay cowboy, you should probably look at your Lord and Savior, Bob Norris there. Now, this isn't, though, what we were going to talk about. So we brought this up for a reason, I'm guessing. Okay, here it is.
I'm sorry, but Lizzie already wins the award for the best comment of the night. I'll just leave it at that. You can read it. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, that is
legitimately. It was up on the screen for a moment.
All right. So this happened apparently this weekend. On the left is Stefanie Fetzer. She is standing next to Bob Norris. It's a mirror image of the last photo that we showed. She says, "I'm thankful and humbled to be endorsed by Sheriff Bob Norris in my run for precinct committeeman in precinct 520. I'm grateful for his support, his friendship, and for the job he does to keep our community safe." He's got a lot of stripes on his arm, but he lost the stars on his collar, apparently.
Yeah. I was asking you, what do you think that was all about?
I think those stripes are for every, 5 years?
Yeah.
5 years of service or 3 years. I can't tell. I can't quite see. So why does this matter? Well, we know what a drama queen Steph is, how dramatic. She's from the theater. And why is this really a big deal? Because we started out, I did at the beginning of this broadcast, talking to you about how important it is to pay attention and be involved in your local elections. Now, Fetzer, I don't know. I don't think she's endorsed by the KCRCC because aren't they at odds right now with Candlelight Crowd and Gookin?
Yeah, you have a splitting of those two where that first photo you saw of Bob Norris in his Spirit Halloween costume with Stefanie Fetzer, I believe they were at the Lincoln Day dinner year before last.
Yeah, 2025.
Yeah, so that was like a must attend for anybody involved in local conservative politics. And then in that amount of time, these two groups have split. One, my guess is that Bob Norris no longer needs the help of the KCRCC for any upcoming elections. He's in his second term now, probably on his way out. So the KCRCC has served their purposes for him, and there's no need for that continued alliance or loyalty at this moment. And the demonstration of that is that endorsement to Stefanie Fetzer, who has been instrumental in that separation between KCRCC and the way she's positioning it as they need she's not fully coming out against them, but always playing the middle ground. Like, I'm not really here to create problems, but according to Stefanie Fetzer, it's just, they really need a change in leadership and nobody should come against me for saying that. Mm-hmm. So Fetzer's been instrumental in positioning Candlelight Christian Fellowship to really come up in their position of political authority to come. So you're watching the rise of power of Candlelight Christian Fellowship, where just as of a year ago, there was more melding or the combination of efforts between those two. And now it's one definitely vying for power and control over the other. At least that's what it appears to be.
Well, I think we have very good
There's
evidence.
we have the evidence, but there also is always this idea that we all were forced to buy tickets to the Broadway show, and we are just in the audience watching
like
this.
One of them crazy conspiracy people. All right,
I'm crazy. I have more on Stefanie. I don't want to trample on.
Let's continue. I think that if we go to the next slide.
Okay, didn't know if there was more on the slides because I've got.
So look, we're not endorsing anybody on this program, but I do want to point out, because we really don't think Stefanie Fetzer should be anywhere near the KCRCC. We'll talk about this a little more, but this happens to be someone who is running against her. If you happen to be in precinct 520, again, I know nothing about the dude at all. His name is Jason Nye, and he was a Boy Scout leader, it looks like, in the Boy Scouts. Can't quite see everything there, but you can go and use this QR code. It should work. Go find out about him. If Bob Norris is endorsing someone, I absolutely guarantee you that person should not be in the office that they're running for. That's my personal belief. I stand by it. Enough said.
And I want to present to you a little bit more as to why that is, and just remind you, for some of you, this will be a repeat. Then there are plenty of you where this will be brand new information, and we've got QR codes to throw up so that we're going to put up on the screen. We're not going to throw them up, where you can go to learn even more, but a little more history. And Stefanie Fetzer standing here next to Sheriff Norris, and just so touched and honored and surprised by this endorsement. I want you to understand a little bit of the political history of Stefanie Fetzer. So this is going to be a portion of a longer form, like 23 minute presentation that put together on Fetzer, her background, where she came from. So during this, I'll have the QR code up on the screen so you can watch this thing in its entirety. But this is going to give you a bit of an overview and as to how this relates to Norris's endorsement of Fetzer. 2024 sheriff's race, Fetzer's coordination went far beyond Facebook. She was working closely with Davalu Cummings, a former Department of Homeland Security agent tied to Candlelight Church and Pastor Paul Vanoy. Fetzer helped drive a synchronized campaign to discredit Dan Wilson. The attacks were calculated and used the same words like anti-Semitic, angry, unqualified, dishonest. It appeared all across multiple accounts: Fetzer's posts, Cummings' statements, even official messaging from the Bob Norris campaign and from Pastor Paul Vanoy.
Question for you. I'm going to cut you off. Sorry. Is Dan Wilson a white supremacist? Okay. But what's his position on Israel?
But Fetzer didn't stop there. She aligned herself with Wilson's ex-wife, a woman clearly embittered and eager to settle old scores, and turned that personal grievance into political ammunition. With help from Aaron Barnard, Fetzer propped up the alliance publicly, posting photos, tagging each other on social media, and flaunting their connection as if it were a badge of honor. What looked like grassroots outrage wasn't grassroots at all. It was scripted, it was organized, and it was designed to drown out the truth and destroy reputations. Fetzer wasn't just repeating talking points, she was weaponizing relationships and writing the playbook for political destruction.
Special thanks tonight is to Stefanie and Aaron for coordinating all this, bringing a lot of people together, doing a lot of things.
Political alliances with local and state figures, from Sheriff Bob Norris to Senator Ben Taves, and other North Idaho legislators that she routinely promotes across her channels.
Yeah, notice that we don't call names, you do. You call names. Yeah, all of you call names. I said you're a joke, and you are a joke. Yeah, that is what I said. You're a liar. You are a liar. Yeah. Go back to California where you belong. Yeah. You're corrupt. The lot of you, you're corrupt. Corrupt.
Okay, so first of all,
Yeah.
how dare she pretend she's a pioneer by wearing that coonskin cap?
Right? I'm offended by that.
Unbelievable.
I'm offended by that.
All right, so pull that next slide up.
Okay, keep talking.
That's
I got it
Fetzer,
for you.
activist Fetzer, tied in close with Matari, with Paul, with Candlelight. Really bad news for the local Republic. Now we're going to go back because don't you have a couple of the pictures next to?
Tell me
I
what you
want to
want.
do
'Cause-
the pictures that we're showing of Stefanie's daughters. So
Okay,
Stephanie,
so let
Miss
me-
Moral, yeah.
Okay,
set that up.
I didn't realize that's where we were going because that wasn't in that document there, but I do have that. So part of the point of showing that video clip, and again, there's a QR code up on the screen if you want to see the rest of that to really understand in detail how Stefanie Fetzer arrived on the political scene here in Kootenai County. You would imagine virtually a nobody, and she's immediately tied in with all the heavy hitters. They probably just saw like political blood, like, hey, this woman knows everything about rallying people and demonstrations, and she's highly experienced in this arena. So she's a wealth of information, and we're just going to take her in. So however they got connected, they did. That video tells you more on that. And Stefanie has also, not only does she campaign, like, for example, for Bob Norris. You want to campaign, he's your candidate, great, go do it. Wave the signs, wear your uncle, what's his name, hat from the Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Wear your hat, do what you're going to do, campaign for your preferred candidate. But she really set out to professionally go on a destructive, like political operative campaign to take down opposition. And that was her position. I would say that's where she actually spent the majority of her time, was to take down opposition, not to campaign on behalf of her chosen candidate.
And that's what people from California will tell us that we've had hours of interviews
Yes.
with.
So throughout all this, she's also heavily tied into Candlelight, advising Pastor Paul Van Noy, friends with Aaron Barnard. And so a lot of the reason we're showing you those video clips is these same people are rolling in these same circles that we were showing you 2 or 3 years ago. And they are still the ones coming out as detractors today whenever they see information that's coming out as a threat to what their current agenda is. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that has not made sense is you have Stefanie Fetzer, who claims to be, I'm just this conservative mama bear, a conservative mama bear, and I'm all about traditional family. And I have just come here and I'm politically involved, not because of what Dan and Dawna Wilson say I am. I am just, I'm just a simple mom of simple means that wants to make this community better for you, safe for our children. So this is where I'm going with this. So you want to believe it. And I know that there are people who believe her wholeheartedly because there is that aspect to
Dan
Stefanie
Gookin
Fetzer.
tried to message
What do I need to
what
do?
do I need to do to help heal you between you and Fetzer?
So
Ain't ever happening.
Because she really is a nice lady. And I have, I understand that there are those of you who know her and have met her and you're like, well, what? She's a nice lady.
But
because
we have
yes,
a picture
you
of her.
have-
We have a picture of her, though, contradicting her trad mom worldview, that she continued and tries to tell us, how we need to live our lives. And she's all for the traditional family. And yet she has no problem letting her daughters stand next to a convicted sex offender that's still on the sex offender registry, Ian Shadd. And Ian Shadd runs all over with the Candlelight crowd.
And I want to show you this. If you need to see, you can zoom on this in on it. This can be sent to you, but this is showing what his convictions are and proving that we're not just circling this guy again without proof. There's the proof, and you can look further into that if you want to. But the point being, where is Fetzer's concerns when her own daughters are at an adjunct, at least adjunct Candlelight function? They might say, well, we don't endorse, these are just our people going out and doing this on their own volition. Well, Jeff Newfield, who's on staff there, is the leader present at these events. So I want to show this too. I'm going to throw this up on the stage because this zooms in on Jeff with these posts.
Jeff knows damn good and well who this guy is, too.
Yes. And so this is Jeff bragging about these events that they've done down in the park. And I just wanted you to see that in every one of these photos is Ian Shadd. And that's Jeff Newfield on staff at Candlelight Christian Fellowship, who's clearly aware of who this guy is. And yet they have never denounced this. Nobody, Paul Van Noy, none of the other leadership from Candlelight has ever come out to say, okay, we're aware of this. This is an issue that this guy is one example, and there are others.
If you're in Stefanie Fetzer's PC district, 520, keep in mind that she has no problems with her kids hanging out with convicted sex offenders from this very own community, hanging out with some extremely dubious type of people. Mm-hmm. She's involved in all sorts of shenanigans behind the scenes, good and bad. When you go and vote, pay attention to this stuff. It actually matters.
It's so duplicitous because you've got Fetzer, who in recent days is right in the middle of a conversation of the lies that were circulating that we addressed last week about your business. Sorry, the words escape, but your business designation, and that was going certification,
Mm-hmm.
And that was just like going like wildfire, which is why we have somebody on here tonight making the comments that they are about our DEI representatives and how are those minority grants going, which has been fully debunked and addressed. But Fetzer has no problem getting in the middle of that to smear your name, and then here's her daughters in a picture with convicted sex offender.
Yeah.
And we're just not talking about that. We're not
Brent
talking about
Reagan, are you talking about that, or are you just talking smack to everybody else? Let's move on to Keith Bowe. This needs to be shown real fast. Keith Bowe claims that he's, again, another mover and shaker in his community, runs around with Fetzer, Shelley Kroll, and the likes. This was something we just captured of a post of his just the other day. I'm only going to say this once. Hallelujah. I'm actually not going to say that just once. I'm going to say it my whole life. Hallelujah. God is good all the time and came to those who didn't deserve it, like me and you as well. God is good. Thankful for Christ's love. Number one, if you're a man and you talk like that publicly, you're an idiot. Number two, this was Keith just a few weeks ago when he put this out there without any proof. This is just a one of many that we've talked about for a year. He pops off, Dan Wilson is 100% responsible for the attack on the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. Then just, a couple days ago on a Padula post where Keith Bowe was trying to defend John Padula. So again, I want to show you Keith Bowe, who you can go back to our previous episodes and see the vile, nasty things. He's obsessed with gay sex. He projects gay sex terminology on his opponents all the time. It's really weird. I don't know why so many of these guys in Norris's circle are so obsessed with gay sex. He had this to say to Julie Cox Wagner. Did you know that the Sheriff Rod Wilson has never been employed in law enforcement? Once again, a complete lie. Bowe knows it. I served for 12 years as a commissioned police officer reserve in Washington State, but, Keith just has to keep on lying. So, watch what these Pharisees say and do. In fact, that's not even doing a good service to the Pharisees, because the Pharisees at least had standards. They lived according to a law. Keith just runs his mouth and sells Christianity, probably because he's selling real estate. He's a bullshit artist.
Yeah. The other thing Keith said in this post that I find amusing is he's using this as a talking point as to why you shouldn't listen to the Wilsons, because he said, referring to Dan, he also did a couple of anti-Keith Bowe podcasts.
No, Keith, they weren't podcasts solely on you. We did spend some time showing you and all of your gay sex innuendo. Again, for a guy that calls himself, hallelujah, I'm a follower of Christ, quit talking about gay sex, you sicko. What a perv. I do not understand. I found over the years, Keith Bowe, I find the guys that joke the most about gay sex online actually probably are struggling with that in their very own lives. So, Keith, maybe you should go talk to your pastor and get some counseling if you're struggling with some issues right there, bro.
For those of you who maybe say, okay, we don't need Dan and Dawna to sit here and talk about the haters. You've already exposed them. We don't care. Just hang on tight because we do have lots to cover tonight, and we're going to be moving through that. Those were just recent things from today that needed to be addressed because we had
they're all involved together.
A brand new posted earlier this week or maybe end of last week. Between Wednesday and Wednesday, as we say, pay attention to our social channels because stuff happens between Wednesday and Wednesday. But that the new piece is that Sheriff Bob Norris endorses Stefanie Fetzer for her precinct race. And so we were just touching on that again to say, okay, let me remind you who this is. And then you can go seek out more information because we've done that. And then Keith Bowe, he just keeps cropping up. And the reason it matters, here's why I don't want you to get tired of listening to this. Keith Bowe he's I believe a local realtor, and he runs a huge local Facebook group called North Idaho Life. There was a shot of it there. These are people who position themselves, at least they pretend in their mind or in some way position themselves as leaders in the community. So they make political endorsements and everybody comes in and they're like, oh, yeah. And they get the, going in the rah-rah section because they built a life on networking. And so that becomes very valuable then when these people make political recommendations, or secondarily, they tell you why the opposition, they go on that counter ops campaign and they tell you why the opposition is bad. And based on what? I mean, our experience was based on lies.
Pay attention to your local community because they help shape politics, and you don't want these frauds or their ilk to be running this county. We're going to talk more about how bad the county is becoming. And in my opinion, it's about ready to get a lot worse. Now, I don't even know how we transition to this because it's like being a bang a boom.
You just do.
Reagan got a little heated. Brent Reagan from the KCRCC, he's the chairman. We'll pull up our next slide here. He had this to say. He does not like this. What's his name? Jason Stanley?
I think Jason Stanley.
Right. So Jason Stanley, give us a little bit of background. You know how more about this than I do.
All right, so you have started to see this. A lot of you may have started, or we'll introduce you to it here tonight. But this Facebook page and fairly new website called Kootenai County Corruption, I believe, is the name of it. And I'll throw up a QR code for you later. You can link to that. But this guy, his name's Jason Stanley. So he's not hiding behind the identity of Kootenai County Corruption. He has actually published his story and what his personal experiences and which is what has inspired him to create this online presence and go after corruption, which the nucleus of it really was corruption in Kootenai County Jail. That was where it started. And I have since spoken to him directly. So he's a real person. He does exist. And what he has stated is, as you start doing records requests related to what your original mission was, and for him, it was corruption in Kootenai County Jail, you cannot even imagine all of the different directions that goes. And it is like a bottomless black hole, which is what he's finding. So there are things to talk about every single day. Brent Reagan, chairman of the KCRCC, is one of the people
losing his mind
over this
Mensa
guy.
Is losing his mind.
So that's a little bit of the backstory, and that's who Jason Stanley is. My guess is these guys, these heavy hitters like Brent Reagan, and then they've got his other mouthpieces coming in to attack Jason Stanley. Bruce Matari actually is too, but my guess is they've looked him up, and say, okay, what ammo can we get on this guy to take him down? Because we don't want anybody else exposing this stuff. So there you go.
So Reagan had to post this on Jason's Kootenai County Corruption Facebook page. Reagan and all of his, I think he wanted to be an attorney.
I don't even
originally.
know if I read that. That's funny.
Who is the person behind this page? If they don't clearly identify themselves, they are violating Idaho law, specifically Idaho Code 676614A, publication or distribution of political statements, part of the Sunshine Law Title 67, Chapter 66. Whenever any person makes an expenditure for the purpose of financing communications, expressly advocating the election, approval, or defeat of a candidate, measure, or a person standing for election to the position of precinct committeeman, though through any broadcasting station, newspaper, magazine, outdoor advertising facility, direct mailing, or any other type of general public political advertising. The person responsible for such communication shall be clearly indicated on such communication. Note it says an expenditure with no lower limit. Computers cost money, as does the electricity to run them.
Oh, my.
Hey, Brent Reagan, shut up. Shut up. I am so fed up of you running your mouth, you freaking hypocrite. Let's talk about Brent's hypocrisy. You're so outraged, Brent, but let's take a walk just 2 years ago during the sheriff's race in 2024, and let's go to the primary in 2024. You know, the one where Bob Norris used resources from the Cooney County Sheriff's Office, namely the badge, in violation of state law. He allowed his FOP, the Masonic Deputy Sheriff Association, he allowed them to use the badge in an advertisement that was sent out for all of the county voters to believe that the Cooney County Sheriffs, it was inferred, they're using the official Cooney County Sheriff's badge, and to infer that Cooney County Sheriff was endorsing candidates to include Bob Norris, Brett Surplus, Sleepy Dale Gibney, and Stan Mortensen, as I recall. But more importantly, the Masonic deputies, they were endorsing PCs that were not KCRCC choices. In fact, they were part of the North Idaho Republicans, or as they've been called, the Dirty 30. So you have Brent Reagan with their already endorsed and chosen Bob Norris, in essence, along with Bruce Matari, taking a knife and stabbing everyone in the back of the KCRCC, including those PCs that lost their seats. What did Brent do about that? What kind of outrage did he exhibit? Did he go to the Secretary of State on that? Did he talk to the Attorney General? No. Here's what he did. He played this video. He had Bob do this hostage video that we're going to watch. Take a look at this. This is their bullshit excuse as to why they didn't do what they actually did and why it's not against the law, but it could be against the law. Take a look for yourself.
Hi, my name is Robert Norris. I am your current Cooney County Sheriff. The purpose of this video is to clarify some situations that are occurring right here in Cooney County as it pertains to this flyer that some of you may have received. I want to make it very clear that the sheriff or the sheriff's office did not have any coordination or participation in this flyer whatsoever. My campaign, the Office of Sheriff, and myself, we do not coordinate any political strategies whatsoever with the Employee Association. None. The Employee Association did ask, and I did grant the use of the badge. The intended use was for elected officials that they had endorsed. I did not know they were going to use it for precinct committee positions.
So it's sort of
I support
okay.
the Idaho Republican platform. Mm-hmm. I also support the Cooney County Republican Central Committee. I have personally
Does he still?
walked precincts in support of conservative precinct committee men and women. I encourage everybody to seek out your precinct committee people and talk to them about how important this election is. Thank you for your time, and please
get him off my show.
Get out.
All right.
Get out.
So Norris admits to allowing them to use the people's badge, Bob, not yours. Yours to sell, where you were the direct recipient of that advertisement. And your friends, Dan and Carrie Edwards, the former mayor of Dalton Gardens and the owners of, Trafficor and Ground Kicker. Trafficor gave $10,000 to the Masonic Police Officer Association PAC, and they used that money to put that mailer out. You hear him, Brent, acknowledging that he broke the law. But you can't bring yourself because you're such a freaking hypocrite. You're a lying piece of shit.
Oh,
I'm sick of it. I absolutely cannot stand Brent Reagan and his hypocrisy. I've had enough of it. You duplicitous punk. Let's take a look real quick at what this advertisement looked like. Show me the next slide, please. Here it was. You have Bob North, the recipient of it, Dale Gibney, Brett Surplus, and over to the right, you're going to see as we scan down a little bit, they have the PCs. Cherish Hansen happened to be the one that was for this district. They sent them out by the 70-something districts out there. And by the way, this is the same Masonic Deputy Sheriff Association that also said John Padula just 2 years ago was too dangerous to trust. Vote no on John Padula, convicted felon, arrested 32 times, former fugitive, 7th grade dropout, flush with developer and builder money. I mean, it just, the politics around here, man, are something else. That's it. All right. We've said enough about this whole Brent Reagan issue, but again, Brent Reagan has driven the Republican Party into the ground in Cooney County. How many of you agree with me? How many of you disagree? And if you disagree, tell me why. Tell me why it is he gets a continual pass on his bad behavior, whether it's accepting $75,000 in PPP money while he's making parts for COVID ventilators. He claims that he's for small government, but he was right there with his hand out, taking that money. I mean, the guy just, what a joke. And all of you fools that keep putting him back in to the chairman place.
What Dan's pointing out is just that these are not the actions of a principled person. His actions will change depending on what the goal in this election cycle is. And what we have just shown you and took a few minutes to do, and it, yes, required your attention, we have shown you the exact proof of that, where it matters to him, the Idaho code that he's spelling out, saying, who's behind this page? Who is this? This is an illegal action, and it's, according to Idaho code, and spitting out the code. And then at the same time, when you've got a sitting sheriff who you recommended and by all accounts you put into office because of the financial backing and power that you have, what were the punitive measures taken?
None. None.
So
and
that's
by the
what
way,
we just showed
Brent,
you.
didn't you pay a $1,000 fine for your campaign violations during the 2024 election? Again, you need to shut up and sit out, you old geezer.
Yeah.
Now let's play a video.
Yes, please.
Get your popcorn. This is going to be a 12 to 15 minute video. I know I had to endure it many times watching it. You have to endure it too.
I hope it's what I think it is.
It happens to deal with your taxes right here in Cooney County. They're going to go up because Bob Norris has never been told no since he has become sheriff of the sheriff's office. No accountability, no forensic audits that have ever taken place. Nobody knows where the money's coming and going. I told you 2 years ago when the detractors would come up and say, I knew nothing about budgets. A businessman of almost 30 years knew nothing about budgets, but somehow a guy that was a cop for 30 years, a desk jockey, somehow was given a pass. I told you then, and I still say it now, he doesn't know the first thing about budgets. They do it all for him. And we're going to see what an embarrassment Captain Heil is to Bob Norris, and Bob Norris to Bruce Matari, and ultimately these clowns to us, the taxpayers, that are going to be saddled with a $2.5 million, give or take, because it's a moving target every time they meet, emergency fund, vacuum sucking fund to cover overtime that they can't get a hold of. That Bob Norris has had 6 years to take care of, and he still isn't anywhere near close to taking care of the problems with the jail. Go ahead and watch this. We're going to watch the video, and we'll stop it every once in a while.
Stay involved with us there in the comment section while we watch this together, or you can send a text to 208-366-4671.
Board approval request. This is a jail overtime with the Sheriff's Office and Captain Jeremy Heil.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Captain Jeremy Heil for the record. I presented to you on April 16th at HR meeting, the analysis for overtime for the jail needed through the end of the year. We've continued to analyze those numbers, and I present to you today the final number we need that we'll be asking for is $1,300,000 unloaded, with a total of $1,627,470 loaded wages. And we're seeking direction from the board on either funding or how to move forward from here.
So Where's the budget right now? I think we increased it to 1.4. Is that correct?
Correct. It started at 925 and it was increased to 1.4, and that will get us either through the end of May, or the middle of April to the middle of, end of April to the middle of May, based on current usage. And then at that point, we'll need the 1.3 to get through the end of the year, or the 1.6 rather.
After the 1.4?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what's the total dollar amount that we're asking for? Because I was kind of under the impression the last time we spoke was through April 2nd.
Up to that point, we were just under, right at 1.1. So the 1.4 will get us through either end of April or middle of May, and then the 1.3 or the 1.6 loaded will get us, based on the projections, through the end of the year.
Okay, so what is the total amount we're going to need unloaded?
What's
unloaded? 1,300,000.
No. For the entire budget, the entire year. Excuse me. Yes.
It'd be 2,700,000
so
total.
2.7 million.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thoughts on this?
Well, I would like to see it be stable instead of constantly fluxing.
You see, when just a little bit of communication, I thought that was an additional amount on top of where we were April 2nd.
That was my mistake. My numbers were started there, but we still had money that will get us through either April or May. And that was 1.8, so I came back today for 1.3.
All right. Sheriff's here. It's your budget.
Uh-oh. Daddy's not happy.
Well, the wall of shame.
By the way, Heil is supposed to be your new sheriff after Norris. That's what the alleged agreement was.
Robert Norris. Yeah. So if you look at the overtime use from previous years, the 2.7 is consistent with what we've seen in the last few years.
I think last year we were at 2.5 and the year before we were at 2.3.
Yep.
So this is 2.7. So it's actually going up a couple $100 grand every year.
Yeah. Costs go up. They generally, the courts drive a lot of these overtime costs. Hospital security drives a lot of this stuff. We don't know how many of those we're going to have every year.
Well, okay. I understand that, but in fairness, we've had this discussion where.
Commissioner, what do you want to do?
I'm sorry, what?
What do you want to do? We're asking for 1.3 to keep this community safe and keep order inside the jail.
Okay, hold on.
Hana.
To keep this community safe and to keep order inside the jail, we need.
Ed DePriest predicted the future. He predicted what was going to be said. Oh, you've probably watched it a couple times.
Oh, Lord. This is so freaking painful. This is one of the most painful presentations of Norris that I have ever seen. It is.
Well, this is it's a good one. I was watching Bruce Matari and I'm like, okay, either this is all an act. I know I'm wearing the hat, the tinfoil, or Bruce Matari got redeemed. He got redeemed by
negative,
like John Padula.
Negative Ghost Rider. Continue playing.
So tell me, what would you like to do?
What I'd like to do is have a budget that's presented to us that you can live with, that doesn't blow past the number you're asking for.
The captain already said he made a mistake at 925. What do you want to do? Keep ridiculing him for that?
I'm not ridiculing anyone. In fact, it's your budget.
You keep bringing it up.
It's your budget.
You keep bringing it up.
The fool doesn't even take any kind of responsibility. It is ultimately his budget. If Jeremy, just a cop his entire life, has never been through formal business school, never been through accounting or any of the likes, I can understand why he would not understand or be able to put forth any kind of accurate projections.
Good point. Yep.
So, I get that, but the sheriff, where the buck's supposed to stop, should already have this covered with his experts. And it comes down to an hour issue. Jeremy should never be talking dollars. The fact that Bob Norris doesn't go directly to the commissioners himself shows that he doesn't even understand the budget enough in order to be able to articulate exactly the needs and to where the missed projections were. But as Matari said, yeah, it's gone up about what I think $200,000 every consecutive year. But hey, Commissioner, what do you want to do with it? He said he's sorry. He had it wrong. Just, let him go. Continue.
What up?
The 925.
Yes.
So he made a mistake. He acknowledged the mistake. Let's go on. Let's now provide community safety for this community and around that jail.
Let's go provide safety for this community and around the jail. I mean, hey, Brent, this is your man, Brent Reagan, the guy that's lecturing other people about the corruption. This is one of your guys, Brent.
Let's provide community safety for this community.
Yeah.
It's all about community safety.
Yeah. Keep on.
Okay. So I think the issue here is the fact that we just want a number that you can live with, that doesn't have to constantly go past the number you originally give us each year. No one is saying that we don't want to fund the sheriff's office correctly. No one's saying that. But we can't budget correctly if we get numbers that are way lower than what you need. That is the challenge.
And he acknowledged that mistake.
Well, the only reason I've been talking with the captain about this is because, quite frankly, when I try to communicate with you, you don't even reply to me. So that's why I'm working with him. Now, in all fairness, I just want to figure out a number that, one, you can live with, and two, is substantiated, that it's not picked out of the air, but it's actually substantiated because we're about to go into budget season in the future. And I'd like to at least see that with the number you give us, not only is substantiated, but you can live with it. And I don't think that's unreasonable from a board member to ask those questions. Do you?
We had a presentation where we had an open forum to ask these questions. And now we come to an action item and we're still asking these questions. We're asking for 1.3. That will give us in a low risk area of overdoses and escapes and deaths. If you want to go to 1.1, then you'll be in immediate risk. If you want to go to 1 million, then you'll be in a high risk.
I think you're missing the point, Sheriff.
What would you like for us to do?
Just a couple of weeks ago, you wanted an additional 1.8 million on top of the 1 million you were using. So it's 2.8 million, right? Now it's 2.7 million. So I'm just trying to figure out where a number is that you can provide, that you can stick with it from this point to the end.
We are dealing with an antiquated overtime system.
We
account for overtime, how we account for deputy time. So we have some challenges that aren't our own design.
Bullshit.
Yeah, get ready.
As a man who has been in business for almost 30 years, been an employer, we have, I think I last checked, over 350 different cost codes and hourly types where we can track every last thing that our guys do on a job. That technology was available back 25 years ago, and Bob Norris is expecting us to believe that they have no way to track. It's the same bullshit that they're giving to the Hayden City Council.
Yeah.
To Matt Roeder and to Ed DePriest.
Yeah.
When they're saying, look, you're providing us this service for X amount of dollars, then you're giving us these overtime bills, but you can't tell us where the overtime was spent or how it was accumulated. I mean, Bob Norris is such a freaking liar or lazy or incompetent, and probably all three. But folks, don't let him con you. They don't do this because it's not what you preach, it's what you tolerate, and they tolerate this dysfunction day in and day out. And you guys that keep putting these clowns back in office, you're tolerating it, and get ready for the tax increase that's coming.
So we're trying to navigate through those. So what we're asking for today to put in a low risk category is 1.3.
Okay, you're asking for a total of 2.7. I don't know where it is today. I don't know where that number is. In fact, if you go through what is in our packet here, it says you're asking for 1.8. Okay. So that's why I'm just trying to get a handle on the numbers. I get thrown all these different numbers. I have a message here that says 1.3. So I'm just trying to understand what is the total dollar amount you need that you can live with, because it's shifting every time we meet. That's all. Commissioner Eberline, do you have any thoughts on this?
I can concur with what you got going.
What? I concur with what you got going on. What? That guys, this is the problem. That's a county commissioner right now that is supposed to be representing 1/3 of the county, and you'll frequently find this. I'm going to argue and say that my experience of watching hundreds now of hours of these county commissioner meetings since 2025, once Mark Eberline took over. By the way, I personally know Mark, and I actually like Mark. He is you would love to sit down with him. He's a good man. Something's going on though, and Bruce, you can watch it in so many of these county commissioner meetings where they have to have a vote. You can see Matari, my belief, manipulating and working his moves on Mark. So, I mean,
I want to interject one listener question. Susie joining us on Facebook. She wanted to know, and we're going to continue with the rest of this video because it is important for you to see. But Susie wants to know, is anyone auditing the sheriff's office? Whose job is it to audit them?
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, so yes, there is an annual audit that's done countywide, and it's what we call a flyover. Okay, it meets the minimum standards, but it's not really what you want. I ran on this. It's my belief that you need a real forensic audit, and it's very costly. But they go in, those forensic auditors, and they find where everything's at. They find trends. They can figure out if money's being siphoned or wasted, or if it's skimmed off the top, if there's any kind of money laundering going on, if there's any theft, where is money being wasted? The only way in a department that is as old as Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, the only way to go forward with a clear, good, economically fiscal budget is through a true audit process, because through this process, you learn really where your weaknesses, where your strong points are, but where are you hemorrhaging the money? And Bob Norris's answer every single freaking year, because he came in and was sworn in 21, it was a little over 30-something million. Now it's up over $50 million.
Yeah.
I mean, the county commissioners year after year after year, because he uses the same line of bullshit. We warned you about this when we talked about their need. They're trying to sell the county commissioners in the county, the citizens, on these license plate readers, and it's always about public safety. You know, if it could save just one life, then you know what? To hell with everything else. What is money? What do you care if you have to pay an extra couple $100 or $1,000 a year in taxes, as long as it saves one life?
And they can never prove about the safety factor, saving one life, but that's
Bob Norris's get out of jail free, which is, are you against public safety?
Yeah, it really
freaking
has
communist little Marxist tactic.
Yeah.
It just needs to be stable so we can have something that we can count upon.
So at this point, basically the 2.7 million comes out to a little over 200 grand a month in overtime. Do we have any relief, do we think, for next year? Or is this the budget we're going to get, 2.7 million for next year?
We are trying to categorize our overtime as it pertains to court overtime, security overtime, appointment overtime.
So hard
That's
do.
going to account for
trying
a decent part of this. We have no control over that.
Wait a second. You have control over categorizing your overtime. You have absolute control over that. You may not have.
We have control over
categorizing.
What a judge tells us what to do.
No, you have control over categorizing it, meaning that this overtime is for transportation. This overtime is for court order behavior. This overtime is for, a floor deputy. This overtime is for, a tower.
And we went over those, 14 categories, 15 categories last time?
I know but you say I'm trying, and that's the part I don't understand. Either you're doing it or you're not doing it.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioners, we are coming before you today without any political gotcha questions. We are asking for $1.3 million for the remainder of the fiscal year.
Will you take $3 million?
Okay, so you're asking for the 1.3 on top of the 1.4.
I'm here for public safety.
Oh,
the political gotcha questions, I'm not interested in anymore.
Showcase showdown.
There's no political gotcha questions.
We're
Okay.
asking for 1.3.
I don't.
Loaded or not?
It's not loaded.
Not loaded.
Okay, what does that mean? Loaded, just for everyone out there.
Yeah, because they keep
loaded
saying
versus unloaded. Unloaded.
Where do you want the money to come from?
Typically refers to just what does it cost if you hire a worker for $10 an hour and they work 8 hours a day. That's $80, right? So that's your unloaded cost. But then, of course, you have your taxes on top of that, your employer taxes, your benefit packages, all of your perks, paid vacations, paid holidays, PTO, 401ks, all that other stuff. So loaded is the entire cost per hour for each employee, times however many hours that they are projecting to fill this overtime vacancy that they can never, ever correct. In fact, we talked about this here a couple weeks ago. There is a sergeant in the Kootenai County Jail right now that last year made over $230,000 due to the amount of overtime that he is working. And we've said this before. I've said it. That is a short-term solution to a very long-term issue. It is not sustainable. Not only is it dangerous, it physically hurts people that work that much overtime, and it's dangerous to the inmates, and it's dangerous to your fellow deputies that you're working with. So, Norris, again, you can't throw enough money because everyone knows the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, especially the jail, is in shambles. People are leaving because the culture there is rotten. It is not one of extreme ownership like it should be. Continue.
Well, I think you have fiduciary authority, unless are you
I'm just asking.
transferring that to
I'm asking
to me?
just where do you think, I'm just asking.
Well,
That's all.
I don't know.
Okay.
Are you transferring that authority to me to figure out?
Brandy, can we just talk with you about where this money should come from?
Here's a smart cookie.
Brandy Falcon for the record. So since this is a mid-year budget change, pretty much the only option for funding this is to come from our fund balance. Currently, we have remaining $9 million assigned for the facilities master plan fund balance, and that's really the only place to take that from, unless the board wants to dip into emergency funds. So we have 9 million in master plan, and the 1.3 unloaded ask comes to $1.6 million loaded. So we would pull that from the master plan assigned fund balance.
Yep. As Ed Dupree says, fund balance equals savings. That is true.
So how close are we getting to being bankrupt?
Well, before we dip into our emergency funds, we would have 7.4 million left in the master plan. Left for this next 12 months. Before you have to start dipping into emergency funds.
Look, I don't want to be in a situation where we're telling the sheriff's office how to do their job. On the flip side, it's incumbent upon them to present numbers that are realistic. Because, like I've said before, and I don't know if you were in the room, Sheriff, we have not taken the full 3% because the numbers come in lower than what they really are. And so our base remains artificially lower. If we'd taken the full 3%, that would have provided some relief. So budget, acumen is very important so that we.
Okay, what does that mean? 3%. For those of you who are not aware, by state law, they can only raise taxes in Kootenai County, and I'm going to generalize this, okay? So don't get me on the small nuances, but just broad 30,000 foot flyover. They can only raise property taxes 3%. That's the county services, not necessarily your own local city or whatever, but the county itself cannot charge more than 3% raise of whatever your tax base is. And what he's saying is, hey, Norris, if you would have told us the actual amount last year, we could have at that time said, hey, we're going to need to get our 3%, but we missed that window, and now this extra money that you claim you need for safety and for keeping order inside the jail, and people from dying from fentanyl overdoses that are still able to smuggle fentanyl and other drugs into the jail despite these large scanners that we pay a lot of money for.
Good point.
You can't prevent that. You can't prevent the 7 deaths, but somehow, if we give you 1.1, you're in high risk. 1.3, we can keep law and order. The funds are going to go up because Norris cannot manage it, and now all of your tax dollars are going to be reflective in this when they raise it this next time 3%. So they have to take now out of emergency funds, fund balance, as Ed DePriest wisely said, City Councilman for Hayden, that fund balance equals savings, and then emergency funds you should never be touching, but they're going to dip in it quite a bit. So take a look at the last few minutes. Bear with me. It sucks, but you have to know what's going on right here in your county.
Can manage the money side of this, okay? Because right now, these mistakes are leading to digging into fund balance if we aren't made whole as a whole with your department. That is the whole point to it. So all I ask is that when you put forth a number, it's a number you can live with, as opposed to telling us why you're trying to do something, okay? The captain, you admitted that he made the mistake. I ultimately think that it's the people at the top who are responsible for what happens.
Well, ultimately, it is my responsibility.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. I'm glad to see that you're taking responsibility with it. With that said, I'm good with giving them what they ask, but at this point in the future, at least for FY27, I think everything needs to be substantiated, and you've got to come up with numbers that are realistic for what you need, so that we don't find ourselves in these situations.
Is this
reasonable?
Reasonable.
Is Matari is this
You good with that, Captain?
playing a role?
I have no idea. You better
Casting
be careful.
frontiers.
He's
You
going to
wanna
lose
make the
his
motion?
badge. He's going to lose his special
I'll
deputy
make
badge.
board approval request overtime jail, sheriff, jail action.
To a total overtime budget of $2.7 million, unloaded, and the money is to come from the master plan fund balance for FY26. And what I'd like you to do is every couple months come back and give us updates on where you are with that.
Yes, sir.
And any additional information
my.
you have as far as the spreadsheet you put together, which I thought was fantastic. It's a good start, so you can start to see what's happening and how to manage the operation much more efficiently, because no one can predict the future, but at least when having your numbers and variables there, if something changes, you can adjust those and at least get a sense as to what to expect. And I think we all can understand that a lot of pressure is put on you and the folks at the jail. There's a lot of things you can't anticipate, whether it's a judge having you do things, the higher risk inmates, all that kind of stuff. So you have a good historical perspective from which to base your numbers off of. And then if you keep track of that, we can start to look at trend lines and start anticipating these things. I think the big issue is just the fact we don't want to get caught short because we're not properly budgeting. If you need the money, I think it's incumbent upon the board to give you the money. But if you don't ask for it because we're not properly managing it, then guess what?
All right. Yes, you're right. Comment from Bob Thompson is Matari admonishing a teenager? Well, yes, he is, and rightly so. Now, these guys have been thick as thieves forever because Matari was Bob Norris's campaign manager. When Bob was sworn in as the sheriff of Kootenai County, he gave Bruce Matari a special deputization. Now, I've been hearing rumors that despite what they quoted and what they were quoted as saying, and that they never asked for a correction or retraction in the Coeur d'Alene Press, Bob Norris claims that he gave Matari a NDA, or what is it? Non-disclosure?
Yeah, non-disclosure agreement.
An NDA, which we did a records request, doesn't exist. But that's what Bob's telling the community, and Matari, who's now running for county commissioner to renew his status. He's campaigning hard, and I guess he's going to be at risk of losing this special deputization. He became a county commissioner not long after he received that special badge. Conflict of interest. We've talked about this over and over again. It does look like that there might be a little spat. Matari says that, you don't return my calls. Maybe he smells the stink on Norris and knows that Norris is the Titanic going down, and he better get the heck away from him.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, you got a few options as to what might be going on. I didn't know if he's playing a role or if what you said is maybe the case in a political season. Yep. Not a good look, as they say.
Now let's talk about some more politicians here. Last week we covered this. We're going to keep covering it because you need to know, again, close ally to Stefanie Fetzer. Stefanie Fetzer attributes Dan Gukin to helping get the Trad family, recommendation day. What do they call that? Whatever, Trad Family Day. Somebody knows what they call it.
Yeah. Oh, the proclamation.
Proclamation. And they're campaigning hard when they punked Dave Riley and his group up there at the taco joint place. And I mean, look, Stefanie's in the middle of all this.
Dave Riley likes your Brook Lottie. He likes your choice of whiskey.
So moving on to the mayor of Coeur d'Alene, Dan Gukin. We asked this question last week. What do you have to say? What have you to prove that there's nothing to see in the record request that we published here not too long ago? We talked about 2 weeks ago Gukin's emotional outburst over his pick, Captain Dave Hagar, who was the captain under now retired Chief White. He was in the running to be the new chief, and there was a fight with the city council. The Coeur d'Alene City Council attorney put the kibosh on Gukin, saying, Gukin, you can't choose. It's up to the council. You can't make an appointment. There was a big old kerfuffle, and Gukin was really defeated pretty handsomely on his choice to have Dave Hagar continue not only as the interim chief, but become the full-time chief in place of Yeager coming from Colorado, who it's my understanding is the new choice. Don't know if he's been sworn in or when that's going to happen. Okay. So we asked the question, why was Gukin so emotional? We want to know why he was on the verge of crying over keeping Hagar. And the question was asked, does Hagar know where the bodies are buried? Is there something that Gukin is attempting to hide? We've asked Gukin to comment. He never has really done so, but I received this records request last fall when I was looking at the Van Noy incident. You guys can go back last week and see that episode and get a little more details on it. But right after I did a records request about a police unit that showed up outside of Pastor Paul Van Noy's home after his daughter Danielle posted on social media accusing her father of cover-up of many things, including sexual assault, and not protecting her as a child. This email was sent by Dan Gukin on December 1st to Chief Lee White and Dave Hagar. He said, gentlemen, a concerned citizen would like to meet with you and myself regarding the Paul Van Noy records request. Do you have time available later this week, or what would be convenient? Hagar responds, the chief is on vacation until Thursday. I'm available tomorrow morning until about noon. We are both available Thursday until 11 a.m. We have academy graduation after that. Let me know if any of those times work. Hagar says this will work. They came to an agreement on a day. He asks Gukin, are there any specific questions I can make sure I have answers to? And Gukin responds, the issue is the investigation of Pastor Van Noy. The concern is over the public records request made by Dan Wilson and its timing. If I can recall, an officer visited the pastor's residence this past Monday. This also came in a records request where records clerk Janelle Dolan sent this out to staff in the records department and to, it looks like, Dave Hagar. Dan Wilson specifically, according to the Van Noy cases, Dan Wilson specifically requested the body cam from 11/22/25 at the home address. That one was a patrol follow-up. That's the only one that has been released at this time and has nothing of any value in it. The other lady, Stefanie Fetzer. How many times have we talked about Stefanie Fetzer?
We get to talk about her a lot.
Stefanie Fetzer Fedzer, and they actually spelled it Fed, F-E-D-Z-E-R.
They were throwing us a bone.
The other lady, Stefanie Fedzer, asked for any police visits to the Vanoy home and Candlelight Fellowship on 11/24/25, plus emails. So her request is still in processing. It'll be run through Brandon. So anyway, the thing that we brought up last week is why is Stefanie Fedzer a lieutenant for not only Bob Norris, but also for Paul Vanoy? Why is she requesting the same records that I'm requesting? Because Stefanie is among those that have been defending Paul Vanoy many months, not only from the very beginning that Danielle came out with her story and we started covering everything about Paul Vanoy, but why is she requesting the records? My guess is that she's doing that so that Paul doesn't have his name or any of the Vanoys have their name on the records that they really are trying to obtain to figure out what Coeur d'Alene Police is looking at. What things do they have to cover up? Now, again, that part's speculation, but we did come out and ask Dan Gukin last week. Well, actually, let's bring up the next page on our slide because this was important. You can read this again from Gordon. This was based on a post that I had put out just covering this very same topic on one of our social media pages. This is what, Facebook, I'm guessing?
Yeah. Okay. So I got you. And the reason we're reviewing this, we are extending the coverage on this for those of you who caught this last week. This is not just a full review of something we've already told you. This is an extension of it from what we have learned last week. Gordon Waltho, who is the husband of Danielle Vanoy, they had been working with Coeur d'Alene Police Department and an investigation, and then it's coming to light that these communications were going back and forth between Dan Gukin and the police chief at that time. So Gordon is now seeing this post and starting to connect the dots. That is what this episode is about, connecting the dots. So Gordon, Danielle Vanoy's husband, puts this comment on this post on social media. He says, fascinating that Gukin would take such a personal interest in the investigation of Paul Vanoy. We were talking with the detective regarding Paul pretty consistently until all of a sudden they went dark. Maybe Gukin had all the, quote, answers the chiefs needed to smooth out specific questions, especially since he was so close to the events in question. God forbid a person would make a poorly timed records request, referring to Dan Wilson. I'll just head back to my local religion business this Sunday so they can convince me why I need to stop asking so many questions. Those Wilsons sure are sore losers. That was Gordon's post.
So he's claiming that the communication between Coeur d'Alene Police and him and his wife began to go cold right about the time that calendar time that Dan Gukin was sending this request.
Exactly.
And we asked the question again, because I'm going to argue and say that the then Coeur d'Alene city councilman, who'd been with the city council for well over 10 years, I think it was closer to 15, and the mayor-elect, very close to the Vanoys. Paul Vanoy talked about Dan Gukin at during one of his sermons. Stefanie Fedzer is, again, a huge fan and was defending Gukin. I personally have thought Gukin was a fun guy to be around. I don't align with him on a lot of his beliefs. But, you know, he wasn't a jackass to us during our campaign. So why in the world would Dan get involved with a concerned citizen that instead of sending emails or doing a phone call, had to go in and meet in person about the records requests that I made? Gukin, you already know damn good and well that I make records requests all the freaking time. And that I'm always looking for what people are saying versus what they're doing. So Gukin responded, because I gave him the opportunity, hey, do you want to comment on this? And he said, well, you know, it was a concerned citizen that was just concerned about the timing, you know, how it works with records requests. Bullshit. You can send that same request. It doesn't require a meeting with a very busy police chief and a captain over something trivial like that. That's something that a captain could have handled, or a lieutenant. But no. You got to meet with him. We asked last week, and I'm going to ask you the same thing again, Mayor Gukin. give us some tangible evidence as to who it was that you met with, what you guys discussed, and what the real reason was that you guys had to meet. Until that time, and that you can provide us with really good, tangible proof of what you were talking about, we're going to continue to ask this question. Now that Danielle and Gordon have come out and said, look, why is it a coincidence that our investigation went cold about this time? We owe it to Danielle and to Gordon and to all the other victims to know whether or not there are people interfering with child sex abuse cases in this county. I don't care whether it is Kootenai County at large or the city of Coeur d'Alene. And I will be damned if I'm going to shut up and not continue to kick the bushes and to pull the threads to find out whether justice really exists in this county or it doesn't. We've heard the rumors for a long time that there is no justice, that the powerful and the politically powerful people can get by with all sorts of things. I hope that's not true. But until we get transparent government to where people start actually being held accountable for what they are doing, we're not going to stop. Even though many of you have tried to stop us. So Gookin, last plea again. We're going to continue this every single week until you give us a good answer.
And how do you transition from that? I mean, you have been, as much as people want to say, Dan Wilson doesn't matter, Dan and Dawna, you guys just need to go get a hobby. As much as they say that, it's like your name just keeps coming up. It just keeps happening. And it happens in circles where I discover it later on. I realize, our name has been circulating on, here's yet another parody page created where memes and jokes have been going out for an entire year. I knew nothing about it, but they're so preoccupied with the Wilsons who don't matter, and we're just here purely for your entertainment or because we love attention. We don't matter, but they have gone to great lengths, it would seem, to shut us up.
Yeah.
And when
Why?
I say they, it comes from, it comes from law enforcement circles. It comes from some of your largest, most politically active churches who insert themselves into conversations that we are having. And then we find out through different methods and means. The truth always comes out eventually. And I think while I do believe that the truth is very linear, easy to explain, and a straight line from here to there, the reason that this has been such an ongoing effort and will continue to be is the lies that have been told have been going on for decades, and the cover-ups have been going on for decades and have involved so many people that it's a very twisted and interwoven, just very many layers to being able to put light on things. So your name comes up. And sometimes you find out later. Sometimes you're doing a records request that has nothing to do with one thing. Yeah. And through that request of an event, there's yet another thing that's uncovered. Yeah. And it's like, okay, we just picked up this pebble and now we see what's under this rock. So another example of this happened. You received some information, again, since our last broadcast last Wednesday, where you're like, okay, I didn't realize it's very interesting.
I had, especially once I got the PC affidavit for the arrest of Ryan McClintock back the first weekend in April, our name was tied into it immediately. We knew that law enforcement had leaked the PC affidavit to individuals in this community prior to Ryan's first appearance. Ryan was arrested on a Saturday. The next day was Easter, and by Monday morning before first appearance, portions of that PC affidavit were leaked, and guys like Brad Cree were already discussing it. And one of the statements was that Ryan McClintock had claimed that Dawna and I had been, communicating with him, and so there was this push all of a sudden that we had somehow conspired and been working with Ryan to encourage him in his mental, state to go out and in his vulnerability and to commit these crimes. We blew the lid off when we announced just a few short days later that our communications had been voluntarily. I called up Detective Welch with the Coeur d'Alene Police Department, said, hey, we know these rumors are going around. We're going to give you all of our communications, and they will check out with his cell phone records. And so here they are. And we provided those. They were extremely benign, nothing illegal there. And we definitely not encouraging a vulnerable individual and taking advantage of him. Fast forward to my records request to Post Falls PD. Shortly thereafter, I put a request in asking for every police report, incident report, CAD report, body camera footage, audio, whatever, that had my name and Donna's in it within a certain time range. And Post Falls PD came back and they said, well, you know, your search is too broad. We need your middle initial and your date of birth. And I gave that. 10 days later, they provided to me 3 pages. 3 pages. One was a 2-page email that had a Dan Wilson that was not related to me, some kid that was applying for the police department there in Post Falls, and then somebody in admin talking about this Dan Wilson. And I had to go back to the Post Falls PD because you're either incompetent or you're dishonest, Post Falls PD. And I know that you have a lot of turmoil going on right now because of your inability to keep a chief over the sexcapades apparently that have been taking place there and that removal. But I was able to ask them, what about this incident report that I'm in possession of? My name is mentioned in this report. I asked you to give me everything. You did not give it to me. You took 10 days to give me 3 lousy pages. You're playing games. You have until this time or I will get counsel to deal with this. And once you know, then I get a little more information. And again, nothing to do with me whatsoever, but I did get the one incident report that I was referencing that was given to me anonymously. And then I noticed that the dispatcher had put my name, appears to be partnering with Dan Wilson. As a former cop, I wanted to know how in the hell did a dispatcher insert her opinion into a call? That's pretty odd. Where does my name come into this? How does Dan Wilson get into this call that has to do with a Ryan McClintock trespass report? So eventually, Post Falls PD, again, whether it's incompetency or whether it is obstruction, either or are not good in my opinion because they don't allow guys like me to believe that they're being transparent. I was given this audio recording. We're going to play this audio recording. It was made from Gary James, former Post Falls police sergeant and SWAT officer, was with Post Falls for quite a long time, quit and went to work with Real Life Ministries out of Post Falls. He calls obviously not a 911 number, and he's very familiar with the dispatcher because he says, your pastor. Let's go ahead and listen to what he had to say, and we're going to talk about Gary James and his claims. Let's go ahead and play this.
Please come to Lori.
Hey, Lori, this is Gary James with Real Life. How are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
Hey, good. We need a guy trespassed from our church.
Okay. What's the name?
It's Ryan McClintock.
Okay. Do you know a date of birth or any other info on him?
No, I don't. I know that he has been very active on social media, on Instagram. He's been threatening a lot of churches around the area. I just got a call from part of the city that he went there to meet with their pastor. He's called Pastor Jim Putman out. In the last 3 days, it's been really amped and threatening. And so we want to just have Post Falls call him and say, do not come to any Post Falls campus, let alone Post Falls, you're trespassed, because if one of the officers gets on Instagram or his site, he's kind of partnered with Dan Wilson, and so, it's not good, and the difference between him and Dan is this guy's got some mental illness going on. So
sure, okay. Okay, yeah. I will go ahead and give this to patrol and have somebody follow up on it. Do you want me to have them call you?
Yeah, when it's been done, would be great, so I can notify our elders and senior pastor.
Okay, perfect. I'll have them give you a call with results then.
Yeah, it is.
All right, perfect. So I'll pass it on to him.
Thank you, Lori.
No problem. Thanks. See you later.
So Gary James was offered the opportunity. We reached out to him today, told him we were going to be broadcasting this and that we were going to give him a chance for a response. And that time came and went, and he chose not to respond. But, you know, for somebody that was a police officer for as many years as he was, you would think that he would be a little smarter than apparently he is. He makes the claim that if you go on social media, you're going to find out that he's kind of partnering with Dan Wilson. Hey, Gary, what the hell does kind of partnering mean? And what is your clear and articulable facts where you ever saw me, Dan Wilson, or Dawna, or the Liberty Without Compromise broadcast ever responding to anything that he said online, reposting anything that he had online, any mention? As I have said earlier, the Ryan that I met and was interviewed for his podcast back in January, right in Post Falls at Stogies and Stories, great time. You guys should see that episode. Ryan was a great kid. Completely a normal, extremely articulate kid that was wanting to do something for his community. There was no signs of any mental issues taking place. But sometime between now and then, something did take place. And apparently, law enforcement did give him the help that he needed. No involuntary holds. I'm curious how that works. The incompetency of the Post Falls Police Department is what it looks like to me. Could be wrong. But Gary, again, where do you get off? Remember, your boss, Jim Putman, inserted himself into the argument a week or two later after I was on Ryan's podcast when he decided to run his mouth in support of Paul Van Noy. And we engaged Jim Putman, the fat and undisciplined pastor. Never talked during that entire podcast about real life, but how dare you? You know words matter, Gary. And by the way, Gary, if you plan on running for sheriff, which you've been telling people, if you really are planning on running for sheriff in 2028, you're going to have to clean up a lot of the crap in your life and stuff like this, where you have zero good judgment. In fact, it's defamatory. And we will be dealing with this defamatory comment that you made. How dare you tie me into something, some crime that I had nothing to do. It wasn't anywhere near it. And by your own argument, one could say, well, hey, if Ryan claims that Jim Putman's a pedophile, then just because he mentioned it, I could call in law enforcement and say, hey, you know, I think Jim Putman's a pedophile because he's been partnering with Ryan. Give me a break. This is, again, the incompetency of individuals right here in Kootenai County. And it brings up a bigger question that I'm going to pose and ask. And I don't give a damn whether or not you guys like this question, but a man that leaves service with Post Falls PD to go to work for the largest mega church in the area, Post Falls, is he going to work there because he's sick and tired of law enforcement life? Has he got another gig? Or is he being paid to be a handler? You know, mega churches and all their issues there. Is he the guy that's the go-between between local law enforcement and the church to make certain that everything's handled correctly? It's a question that we should be asking. I expect better out of career, seasoned cops than to say the stupid shit like Gary's saying, trying to defame me and tie me into something that I had nothing to do with.
One thing I wanted to add, and I'm not saying that you necessarily missed this. I think you highlighted the exact proper thing to highlight in that recorded phone call. But he also said, you know, seems to be partnering with or is partnering up with Dan Wilson. But he said the difference between him and Dan is that, then he goes on to state that Ryan McClintock was dealing with some mental health issues. But it was odd to me that he not only felt the need to make that association for whatever reason based on no fact or evidence,
None.
but then actually took that statement further to put you in that same, to place you in the same category of, let's fill in the blank, some kind of extremism and or that's what you attract.
Which I don't believe Ryan was.
No.
Just to be clear, he's still sitting in jail right now. Which
that
I don't know that that's
concerns me.
right. The charges of domestic terrorism. But here is the thing. Post Falls PD, from my belief, and I will armchair quarterback this all day long, failed McClintock.
Yeah.
There were numerous calls that his mental health was deteriorating, and rather than take him in and actually seize his firearms and put him on an involuntary hold, or at least take him into the hospital to let the mental health experts determine what his state was, take some talk screens or whatever else. No, they get somebody else that's not law enforcement to take the firearms. My guess is because they're lazy. They didn't want to do all the paperwork, would be my guess. Because, you got, when you take property in, whether it's evidence or just property for holding, you got to do paperwork. You got to enter it into evidence. It's more than just a police report. And doing mental holds is a tough thing in Idaho. I get it. But I want to know what they did to the full extent to take a kid that had no history of any kind of this extremism.
No.
And then the fact is that he calls law enforcement and tells law enforcement what he's going to do. He calls 911, tells them, I'm going to the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. I'm going to Coeur d'Alene PD. And not one of those agencies, Idaho State Police, Coeur d'Alene Police, Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, nobody puts a freaking unit or units on the target location.
Yeah.
And they just allow him in broad daylight to park across the street. After he's been live streaming this, and it's been 45 minutes Post Falls with all their license plate readers, lose him. It's almost as if they allowed him to do this. And I want to know who was involved in this and why. That's what I want to know.
Yeah. From a lay person's perspective, that was my first observation. Is I don't understand when he's announcing what he's going after and what he's doing when he's clearly in that mental state. How do you not have units? Like, we all saw a clip on North Idaho News of every possible unit available from every surrounding sheriff's deputy and surrounding police department is on scene at the moment that he's going, hands over the head down on the ground. They're all there then, but they had foreknowledge of this. And where were they? So I'm asking.
They allow him to park across the street
same
from a campus that also houses the Kootenai County Jail. There's cameras all around. They have to know the radio traffic. They have to be notified in the jail.
Yeah.
And yet nobody is there watching at the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. They allow him to park across Government Way, cross 5 lanes of traffic with a baseball bat in daylight, and take a knick-knack paddywhack to the windows.
Yeah, and neither answer to that scenario. It's either way you look at it, it's not good, because if that's just flat out incompetence, that tells you what we're dealing with in the event of a disaster that is much larger than that, because in the grand scheme, that's nothing. The alternative is what you said. It's almost as if they allowed it, and then for what reasons?
I work patrol in an event that has 45 minutes. We'll just give it to them 30 minutes.
Okay.
At some point in the middle of the day, a freaking supervisor comes on, or a dispatcher, and says, unit such and such, you sit here, you go there.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the supervisor saying, hey, has anybody thought to go and sit? Because I know cops, they want to go and hunt. They want to find guys, right? And I get it. And by the way, what you saw at the end was classical. This is what cops do all the time, because I was a cop.
Yeah.
You finally get somebody, and they all want to dogpile on because they all want to get in on the action. Not get in the action to be violent, just to be clear. But it's all exciting. You want to be finally there with the guy that you've been hunting. And, it sucks when you're the second or third guy on scene.
But it seems like it could have been prevented.
But we need more answers about the McClintock situation. We need to know what's going on. I haven't heard an update in a while. And I want to know how in the heck they're going to continue to charge him with domestic terrorism. So anyway, all right, let's move on. should we go into our next political candidate that we just can't?
Please do. Was there another political candidate that is very hard to quit talking about? I want to say there might have been one more thing you wanted to put up on the screen regarding the Gary James thing. I could be wrong.
Let's go ahead and put it up.
I'll let you.
This was just a police report that I obtained that again was showing my name mentioned in the call, which prompted me to ask again for the audio that they didn't give me the first time.
Gotcha. Okay. So more of your proof and evidence and how the breadcrumbs that take you to where you are.
Keith Bowe, because he's a liar, we already know this, but just an example. Keith Bowe never brings any proof when he says the shit that he does.
No.
Just want to point that out. All right,
it
let's
doesn't
move
have
on.
to. He's a big shot and he can laugh.
Well, he is big, all right.
All day long. He's
fat
big.
and undisciplined.
Continuing on, the guy that we can't quit talking about, but I mean, he just gives so many opportunities to mention him. And I mean, rightly so, he's in the spotlight right now, running for Kootenai County Commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the same guy. And so there's reason to be talking about him because, you know, of course, his campaign's ramped up and it's in everybody's feed. I think somebody on our program tonight said right before your live stream came on, a John Padula commercial came up in my feed.
So well, we've heard rumors. Correctly. We've heard rumors, and we're going to talk about Padula, but we posed the question last week. We've received some interesting comments, DMs, but we want to know who is John Padula's campaign manager, whether official or unofficial, it doesn't matter. Who is that person? We've also been told, again, just been told this, so have not verified this, that Jordan Redmond is planning on dumping some bank. Now, again, sunshine laws, there's only X amount you can, but there are PACs that can be funded. And we've talked about Redmond, you know, he's an entrepreneur here locally, young family guy, state representative. I think he's got aspirations to be governor, somebody said earlier in the comments. And he's given, well, I think close to $200,000 this year just to the Kootenai County Republican Central Committee.
Yeah, and Politics for Dummies, if you know that the cap that a single person or a business can give is $1,000 per like primary and per general, that's a cap that doesn't allow you to do very much. So the idea is that your donations when you're running a campaign has to be very broad. You need to have a broad base of support to raise a large amount of funds. But the workaround for that and Politics for Dummies is you create a political action committee. So you get a couple of your buddies together and go, well,
unlimited donations. You just can't collude. You can't coordinate with the campaign.
For free, go Stefanie Fetzer, go create a political action committee. And then you can funnel as much money through that as you want.
I received a robocall yesterday from a area code outside of Idaho, and it was Bruce Matari, and he was talking about how, you know, he needs to continue the mission to secure the county and you know, keep growth at bay and support law enforcement. And if you also vote in Julie Hensley, that will create the perfect alliance in order to keep the county safe. Kind of like Bob was talking about.
I got a text survey today that was very similar. I actually took the survey.
I'm going to say this. As much as I despise Bruce Matari, and he's in my upper stratosphere for people that I absolutely abhor.
Are you going to say what I think you're going to say?
Well, you think
I don't know. I don't know. I think I know.
At least Matari is somewhat honest. He doesn't play the Jesus card.
Yeah.
He doesn't claim, I've heard him ever talk about his faith. And so I like that honesty because I'm a man of faith. I'm a man that follows Jesus Christ. I don't like religious institutions and religious businesses that are rampant throughout all of Kootenai County. But at least, you know, Hensley, she's not wearing on her sleeves that I'm just here to serve the community and has all this crap in her past. So I said this earlier, we're screwed either way.
Yeah.
Because the county commissions are going to wind up with a majority one way or another, unless Steve M is able to pull it off against Matari. But I mean, you know, you're going to have, if Padula gets in, you're going to have two county commissioners that go to the altar church. Leslie Duncan, last I knew, was still attending there. Mm-hmm. Let's go ahead and play this recent video. We played this last week, but for those of you that didn't see it, we're going to do this repetition. This is John Padula speaking just last week on the North Idaho Experience podcast. He had some interesting things to say.
Yeah. So I'm very thankful.
Are you still housing people?
We were up until about 4 months ago.
It's got to be tough with 4 kids.
It is, and unfortunately, we walked through some stuff that happened, and not to get too public about it, but my kids went through some things, and
sure,
we're working through that now. But yeah, we moved all 12 beds to another home that we've been renting. It was actually the house that I was renting from a lady before I came to Christ, or before I got married, but after I got saved.
Yeah.
So we still have that house, and we put all the guys in that house.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I mean, you are now running for county commissioner, and we're going to get.
Okay, so that was Padula. We've been asking this question for weeks. He still hasn't answered it. One of the things that we have continually warned voters in Kootenai County of why John Padula should not be anywhere near the Kootenai County Board of Commissioners office is because of his past, his self-admitted past, not only of almost 20 years of drug addiction, but also sex addiction and using women, a lot of really bad things, multiple arrests, felony escape, all sorts of things. And he brings this baggage of sleeping by his own accord with almost 1,000 women into the commissioner's office. One of the things that was brought up to us months ago was that John Padula has this house, or he did. I'm going to talk past tense because he's just now finally admitting what we've been asking. But for years, he's had this home where he's allowed residents of the Ranch Good Samaritan drug rehab program. They're not even calling it rehab. What do they call it? Recovery.
Yeah. Well, and then his home that's a part of that is set apart discipleship.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of the outpatient part of the program.
So there's multiple businesses.
Program, yeah.
The Altar Church is Cataldo Lighthouse Ministries, doing business as the Altar. Then you have Good Samaritans Ministries, which is Tim Remington's 501c3 that runs these recovery programs for the drug and substance abuse addicts. Then you have Set Apart Ministries, as Donna said, which is discipleship.
I keep saying it.
I think he also calls it ministries.
Oh, does he? Because I've heard set apart discipleship, and I feel like I keep saying it wrong. I just want to
what
clarify
you have
that.
is you have guys that are convicted, or they're going to be convicted, that are living in Padula's home with no separation between him and his family. You've seen from different flyers. We'll show you some here coming up. He's got 4 small children, and the unfathomable thing for me is that you have a man with a small family that is trusting in God, kind of like the snake wrestlers, the pastors that wrestle those poisonous snakes. Says, well, if it's God's will for me to get bit and die, then it's his will, but he'll protect me. That same stupidity. Padula allowed these men to live in his home, many with other criminal backgrounds, and no separation between his wife and his children. And we have brought this up, and we know that his daughters were molested or sexually assaulted. I'll put it this way: sexually assaulted by one of the residents, Jeremiah Camp. Jeremiah Camp assaulted his 2 minor daughters and was eventually arrested and convicted, and he is now locked up. What kind of discernment or lack of discernment do you have to allow any of those type of people, whether they're good guys or not, anywhere around your family, your vulnerable family? No discernment.
It isn't just that there are people advocating for John Padula who say that the stuff in his past, this was 20 years ago. You'll hear there's a video clip I pulled that's coming up because we're going to address this again. Because
let's play
it. I'll play this now, and then I'll continue on what I'm saying. Well, there's a few things in this, so we'll have to break it down partly as we go.
President for 38 years. The reason why I'm voting for John is just his faith-based decisions. Raising my family here in Kootenai County, we want to see it stay the way it was and keep Kootenai County safe for our kids, a great environment to grow in. And John has always put faith-based decisions in front of all of his actions.
He changed my life.
So what I want to point out there is this guy says putting family first, quote, keeping our kids safe.
Except for his own.
Now, remember, and this is for whatever reason, and I think it's just the intellectual dishonesty, but for, it seems like this is getting lost in this conversation, but these are exactly the things. John Padula is just like, it's just lies, and Dan Wilson is Satan, and it's the Satan podcast, produced by Satan. But he has never answered to this. And he said in the clip Dan just showed from that North Idaho Life or whatever it is
North
podcast.
Idaho Experience.
I keep getting that wrong because there's so many of them. But John Padula says, and I quote, we walked through, they no longer had the 12 beds in their home. This is their family residence where they set up in the basement 12 bunk beds to house 12 men who are recovering addicts, have other criminal history. We'll leave it at that. They removed those 12 beds here in this election cycle. And he says, quote, we walked through some stuff that happened. My kids went through some things, end quote. And don't want to get into that. But I mean, it is on the record that there was sexual assaults that happened of minors in his home, of his children. And it was by this person who was part of that program. So it's like, why are we dancing around this? Why are we not talking about it? Here's a guy you just saw in this video clip endorsing Padula for safety of our children, but the guy couldn't, at bare minimum, because you could say, well, it's more nefarious than this even, but at bare minimum, doesn't have the discernment to say, you don't bring these people. I don't care how much you're proclaiming that God's going to protect you, but the amount of the lack of discernment, it shows that you bring dudes with criminal history and recovering addicts to the numbers of 12 of them at a time into your home with any of your kids, not even just daughters, but any of your kids or your wife.
And we know that his wife was giving blowjobs to at least one of the residents, Mason Poole. So again, this was just a couple of years ago.
It's the known secret. So to finish the statement, because I got a couple more clips in there that I want you to respond to. But for those of you saying and defending Padula, he was redeemed and it's been 20 years and he's been in the pastorate. These are events that are taking place like now. Like recent history and to now. He is in this podcast several days ago saying, well, we're not housing men in this place right now. We moved them to this other house that I also own. And my question is, well, who's supervising those guys? What are the interactions happening there? Another facilitator from the ranch. Facilitator from the ranch. Yeah. But this is lack of discretion that he is exhibiting in current events. This is not stuff from 20 years ago. Inability to protect his own children for, at bare minimum, lack of discretion. You just say, is this guy legitimately just that innocent and just that stupid? I don't buy it, but that's your best case scenario. So here's more.
I mean, instantly set me free. It wasn't a process. It wasn't a up and down. I mean, emotionally, after I got saved, because I was strung out on meth. When I got saved, I had to emotionally stabilize, but I was free. All of my addiction was behind me. The pornography, the drugs, alcohol, my anger. I mean, God redeemed me instantly.
Again, that's not true because we know by firsthand accounts, as well as Tim Remington himself, that when John's wife, Amanda, was performing, how do I say this better?
Well, had relations,
filleting Mason Poole,
to having an intimate and highly inappropriate relationship, intimate with one of the residents of the program.
When Mason and Amanda were discovered, when that incident was discovered, Padula, according to Remington and other witnesses, started going back to his old ways. He was using meth again, according to witnesses. John was falling fast and going back to his old ways fast, according to Tim Remington. We have that audio.
The point is that you're not talking 20 years ago. You're talking in the ballpark of 2019, 2020, when those specific events took place, where you have Tim Remington, even in his own words, in leaked audio, saying he was losing John to his old ways, man. He was going back to his old ways quick.
Okay.
And so this is recent. This isn't 20 years ago for those of you who's defending it. This is one more thing, and I want to set this up. I found this just today by, it looks like, another interested party who's looking into releasing evidence of John Padula and this. Man, this isn't even a lack of discretion. It's what appears to be flat out lies. So we'll watch this together, Dan, for the first time, and I'll let him comment on it. It doesn't all have audio, so bear with me.
In 2006 to 2008, I was the manager and oversaw 42 properties with over 60 tenants. Managing 40 residents with 60 tenants.
On your website, you state you were hired in 2006 by a company called Chateau de Loire and managed 42 properties with 60 residents, over 60 residents. You did not mention this significant experience in your 2024 campaign or resume. I cannot find any record of this property management company in Idaho, Washington, or Montana. Please help me. Where exactly are any of these properties located today that you manage?
They were all here in Kootenai County, and a lot of the reason that I don't mention that was because that was for 2 years before I came to know Jesus, and to me it was kind of my life was still full of sin. I was drinking every weekend and partying, and these guys that hired me first hired me to do security for $500 a month, and they were amazing. They were going to build a golf course called the Chateau de Loire. It was supposed to be like Black Rock, but with a French castle type theme. They eventually, I believe their parents bought or managed Carlin Bay. They had a funder out of Las Vegas who bought 42 properties up here unseen, and I actually took them to each one of the properties. They had never been here, never seen them, and they ended up hiring me to manage all 42 of those properties for the next 2 years.
Yeah, maybe he's got meth brain. So you could see him very uncomfortable. He wasn't waiting for good old. What is that? Ron Hartman.
Yeah, the guy
Ron
at every
lives at the county commissioner. He loves to let everybody know how important he is.
Well,
and look,
I'm
glad he's paying attention. He is fiscally responsible.
So the point there being, if you didn't catch it, part of Padula's current 2026 campaign in his work history, because he's got to pull for something that qualifies him to do this job, and is that he managed these 42 properties. And what this guy's pulling out, what they're revealing is this project was killed. It doesn't exist. And then when Padula is questioned about it at that public forum on April 30th, 2026, his answer, did that make sense to you? He started going into, well, I didn't feel it was important to mention because it was my life with Christ.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't important.
Look, he
and they hired me to do.
He was caught.
I was like, what?
He was caught. He was trying to, in real time, come up with he was running the clock out.
It was not. Yeah, it was not.
And look, I had already heard that he was working with an installation company, so this was new to me.
Yeah,
the installation company portion was what I'd understood, that he was setting those businesses up. So. Again, these things will find you out. Kind of like Bruce Matari claimed that he has 200 employees, and I'm pretty positive that they're from a Malaysian call center.
Yeah, those type of employees. But I just keep coming back to when people are advocating for John. I'm like, well, that's weird because he's a liar.
Yeah.
Well, they bring it. Well, I would be in a foxhole with this guy. Like, cool. I'd trust him with my life. He's a redeemed man.
Don't trust him with your wife.
I know him and you don't. And I'm like, well, that's weird because he's a liar. And I'm proving it to you again. It doesn't even matter who brought that information forward or what their motive was behind it, because I actually don't know. It's an account that was just created that was on YouTube, and I happened upon it, but there was enough evidence there to say, okay, this is worth bringing forward. And then just listening to Padula's response when he's called on the carpet in public. And I'm like, again, well, that's weird. This redeemed man and faith and family. And well, that's weird.
Crush.
That's
his
weird.
Whole
He's
shtick.
a liar. That's weird.
Shtick.
He's a liar.
And by the way, Bruce is probably getting replaced by Padula, possibly. I know that Norris and Padula were spotted at Rancho Viejo.
Oh, that makes me want chips and salsa.
Having lunch. Okay.
Oh.
They've been hanging out more and more together, despite the fact that now the Deputy Sheriff's Association has gone back and did a 180. He's no longer too dangerous to trust. Now he's their man.
Yeah.
The Freemason deputies, not all deputies, just to be clear, at the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office are Freemasons. They're not part of the Fraternal Order of Police, which, if you look at their symbology, what do you call it?
Symbolism.
Thank you. Symbolism. It's absolutely straight across the board as what the Freemasons use with their square and compass and all that stuff. Okay.
I think I got you off track, so I want to like recenter this.
But my whole thing is we've been asking Padula. He claims that we've been lying, but he's never answered one freaking question that we brought up. Let's go to that slide. I'm going to bring up a couple of these to jog the community's memory. This, by the way, was in the North Idaho Republicans mailer that came out in newspaper. That's pretty fascinating. You may want to go take a look at it. Pierce Clegg, running for PC, former sheriff, who supported Bob Norris. I gave him $250, I think, in 2024. He's a guy that I don't know should be a PC if he's got that bad of judgment. Side note. Padula tried, we showed this last week, to say that everything we said were lies, and he addresses nothing. He just took exception with our slides are deceiving because they're AI, and he doesn't have a really good relationship with the county prosecutor, Stan Mortensen, although they apparently hunt together along with also Judge Randalls, who I think is up for re-election. You may want to be looking at why Randalls is hanging out with a former felon.
I'd like to know.
Yeah, I think a lot of us would.
He doesn't have any.
John, a couple things. Again, where we haven't heard from the Secretary of State, we haven't heard from the Attorney General's office. I don't know why it takes this long to do an investigation. It was turned in by me in February of this year. Wanting to know what happened to the $4,000 of money John received in his 2024 run for county commissioner that he received in the primary that were designated for the general election. And can't find any proof that he ever paid that money, returned that money to the donors as per state law. That has not been answered. He hasn't addressed that. Again, we want to know what it is about John. What did he cut? What kind of a deal did he cut with the Masonic Lodge, the Fraternal Order of Police 43, when they came out glowingly supporting him? They never explained why. All of a sudden, the things that they said mattered, the character issues, his arrest record, his arrest, his convictions, why none of that mattered anymore. I'm going to guess it has something to do with Bob Norris.
Mm-hmm.
Why does Bob Norris want him in there so bad?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're going to sign off. You elect the government you deserve, or you deserve the government you elect. However you want to say that. Thomas Jefferson was a wise man. If you vote for people like Stefanie Fetzer, who's been endorsed by Bob Norris, hangs out with the pastor Paul Van Oy, who didn't even report the sexual assault of his daughter when she was 13 by a neighbor man. Look at all the people she runs around with. Why do you want her representing you in your own neighborhood? Why is Bob Norris so close to John Padula, somebody that 2 years ago he said was too dangerous to trust? He was right in there with his deputies. What kind of shenanigans are they playing? This card, throw it in the garbage. Throw it straight in the garbage. Like this. Do your own research. Quit being lazy. Look up the candidates that registered to run in your county, in your district, your city. Make a decision based on what you read about what they say and what their track record is, not what others are saying about them. Oh, man, we have such a mess in this county. Pray for Jim. His cancer is pretty tough. He's going to be going through some extremely brutal treatments coming up. Pray for my friend Ann. Pray for my friend Ron. Pray for all those that you know that are going through tough times. Pray in your closet. Don't be an idiot and pray loud and obnoxiously so all those around you can hear what you're saying. Make your petitions known to the creator of the universe who set the stars in the heavens. And he loves you. He loves all those that would follow him. Take us out.
Thank you for joining us tonight on this Liberty Without Compromise broadcast. We're getting all the dirt on Rancho Viejo there in the comment section. I agree with Dan, and I have to repeat, enough with the prayers that are intended for the public. And the times you say you're trying to pray us through your argument, you're praying for us or God's judgment on us, you go pray. Go pray to your Creator. Enough with the public prayers. Pharisees. We are the only live, local, liberty-minded broadcast right here in Kootenai County where we are going to continue to expose, call out, bring evidence these power players and evildoers right here in Kootenai County. So if it gets to be heavy and you say you do nothing but smear, I mean, that is kind of we don't smear, we bring evidence, and it is kind of the point of what we do. So it is a lot of negativity, but it's either that or bury your head in the sand. For more information, you can visit our website at libertywithoutcompromise.com. We've got our latest episodes highlighted there along with special productions, and you can sign up for our email list right there on the website, libertywithoutcompromise.com. Also remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel because all of our past episodes are archived right there on our YouTube channel at The Idaho Sheriff. Make sure to like and follow our Facebook pages at The Idaho Sheriff, or also another Facebook page at Liberty Without Compromise. That way, if we ever get censored, we have a backup. You got to follow both. If you like podcasts, you can listen and subscribe wherever you get your shows. And I think with that,
well, hey,
until then,
pay
we got
attention.
a little more.
We may have a special, a very special episode coming up. We're in the works with right now. It should be, everybody will want to see it.
Oh, you're not going to say. We got something we're working on for the upcoming election. That's all we're going to say about that, because until we can put our money where our mouth is, we're just leave you hanging. But yeah, subscribe to those social media channels because you're going to be then apprised of what happens between Wednesday and Wednesday. So I can tell you that every single week. That is why that's important to keep this conversation going all week long. So until then, we might see you before, but for sure next Wednesday, 7 o'clock, same time, same place. Thanks, guys.